What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna continue working on my 72 Ford F100. Last time I removed the hits and I was cleaning the block and making sure that there was no metal coming out of the oil. So I drained the oil. I did not see any metal. That's a good thing because I did run it for a couple of months with water mixing with the oil. And I was concerned when I drained the oil because I was expecting to see a lot of metal, especially coming from the mains. And luckily I did not see any, but I did find a couple of things not coming out of the oil but outside of the truck. For once, I know I need motor mounts. That one is not bolted the way it should be. If anything, I don't even think it has any bolts on except for the bolt that goes on the chassis. So I'm gonna be replacing both sides of the motor mounts. I also want to get rid of these hoses, so I'm gonna get rid of these hoses. I'm gonna remove them. I'll probably connect the heater later on. And there's a lot of wires that are melted too. I got a melted wire right here, and these ones are all, they're not corroded, but they're covered in grease. I might replace them. I also have a regulator right here. This is for the alternator, but I have a modified alternator. This is a self-exciting alternator, so all you need to do is connect the positive, and as soon as the pulley starts spinning, it'll start creating electricity. So I don't need this external regulator anymore. Another thing that I also want to do is I'm gonna replace the water pump. I know it's kind of dark, it's hard to see, but this is my water pump and it's rusted, so I want to replace it. I want to put another water pump, and also my radiator. I want to flush it. I think I'm gonna do it myself because it's not that dirty, it's just rusted inside. So I'm just gonna put the water hose and clean it as much as I can. Then I also got a couple of filters over here, fuel filters, so I'm gonna replace all of those. And more wires on this side for the coil. This wire is pretty messed up, so I'm just gonna replace it. And I got all my parts over here. So I got my valve cover gaskets, and I like to use Velcro because I've never had a problem with Velcro, so I'm just gonna go with Velcro. And these over here are my head gaskets. I got two of them. I think they're the same on both sides of the head. Over here I got my intake gaskets, and I also got a set of headers. So I want to do the whole exhaust 3-inch, and I want to do stainless on the whole exhaust. I think it's gonna sound nice. I'm gonna put some Flowmasters on. This is my water pump, and over here I got my heads. So I was gonna spend $100 to resurface the heads, but the machine shop told me they were really messed up and I needed to do the whole thing. So I told them just go ahead and do the whole thing, make sure they're in good working condition. So they just did everything on the heads, and I ended up spending $300, which I think it was a lot, but maybe everything went up and I'm not used to paying that much. I remember I used to pay $100, $120 for these heads back in the day, but I guess everything went up. I'm gonna replace the thermostat, and over here I got my points. One of them is gonna be the points, the other one's gonna be the condenser. I'm gonna replace those go inside the distributor. I'm gonna use the Motorcraft spark plugs. This is my new cap and rotor. I'm gonna replace the cap and rotor, and this is the filter. And over here I got my oil. I like using 1040. They didn't have any, so I'm gonna go with a 1030. And I already cleaned most of the parts. I am gonna reuse the head bolts because they couldn't find any, and I'm not gonna buy $200-300 head bolts when I don't even know if the engine is any good. I mean, I drained the oil, I looked for metal, there was no metal, so I think it's gonna work, but I don't know yet. And I'm gonna be using the copper spray. I like to spray these on the head gaskets, especially because my block, there was a lot of rust and corrosion around the water. I think they're, well, I'm just gonna call them the water ports because I don't even know if they're inlets or outlets. There's some water ports right here and on the back. So it's a little bit rusted, and I don't wanna have problems later on, so I'm just gonna spray the copper. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start removing those hoses. I gotta remove the water pump and the radiator. I'm also gonna remove the exhaust. I have the old exhaust. I want to do a dual exhaust on the truck. I'm gonna have to replace it anyway, so I'm just gonna cut it and get rid of it. All right, so I just removed the radiator. It's right here, and I looked inside. It doesn't look that bad. There is rust, but it's only like surface rust. That's the water that came out of it. So now I'm gonna remove the water pump. The water pump is pretty simple. There's only 4 bolts holding it. There's one right here, one on the bottom. Same thing on this side, one right here and one on the bottom. I'm gonna take it off with the fan, the pulley, and the brackets. There's 2 brackets for the alternator. And once I remove the water pump with everything, I'll take it apart outside of the truck. It's just that I don't wanna start unbolting stuff and then dropping them to the floor. I'd rather just deal with it outside of the truck. Once I remove the water pump, I think that's it. I can start putting the new motor mounts. Here's my water pump and some of the heater hoses. There was a lot of rust coming out of the heater hose. You can't really see, but there's all the rust that came out of it. I still gotta remove one more, but this one's like stuck. The way you remove these ones, you get a razor blade and you just cut it in half. Do not pull it, do not use pliers because you're gonna damage the heater hose. I also cleaned the pistons. I hit them with a wire brush. I wasn't gonna do it, but might as well, I'm already here. And I removed the radiator. I'm just gonna clean it with a water hose real quick. There's only surface rust. I'm just gonna try to get as much surface rust out of it as I can. So I'm gonna start with the motor mounts, but before I do, I got myself another set of headers. So these are long tube headers. I was gonna use the shorties. I don't mind using the shorties, but the bolt pattern is different. So for my heads, the bolt pattern is from top to bottom, and on these headers, it's from side to side. So they sent me the wrong ones. I'm gonna keep them. I can't send them back, so I'll just get rid of them. I'll probably give them away or something. So these are the right ones, and they're from top to bottom. So to make it easier for myself, I have to raise the motor somehow. So I'm gonna raise the motor a little bit. I'm gonna remove the motor mounts. I'm gonna put the new ones on, and I'm just gonna slide the headers in before I even put the heads. And I think it's gonna be easier like that, because otherwise I think you have to remove the starter and you got to do a couple of other things that makes it a little bit more difficult. I know I'm gonna struggle regardless, but I'm trying not to scratch them as much. We'll see how that goes. Another thing that I did is I sprayed the intake. I wasn't gonna do it, but might as well, you know, like it's already outside and I could make it look a little bit prettier than how it looks. So I mean, I didn't do the greatest, but at least it looks better than how it was. It looked all rusted and some patches of blue paint, so it looks a lot better. So I'm gonna go ahead and I think I have a tool that I can use to raise the motor. I'm gonna go ahead and raise the motor and replace those mounts. But before I even take them off, I wanted to show you guys something real quick. All right guys, so I grabbed myself a bar and I was testing the motor mount to see if it was even on, and apparently it's not even bolted onto the motor. So it's pretty much, it's loose. There's no bolts holding it on this side. I checked the other side. I think there's only one bolt on the other side, but on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove these motor mounts and I'm gonna put the new ones in. I already removed the motor mounts. Now I was test fitting the long tube header, but I went underneath. I was cleaning the cross member and I noticed the rear main is leaking and the transmission is leaking a lot of oil. So I just came to the conclusion that I think I'm gonna pull out the motor and the tranny and I'm gonna reseal them, because I mean, there's no point that I'm doing all this work and the truck is gonna be leaking oil, and if anything, it's gonna get worse when I start driving it. Right now I have the time, so I might as well do it. I mean, it's gonna cost me a couple of dollars to buy the seals and the gaskets, and at the end of the day, it's gonna be worth it. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get it ready, and I'm just gonna pull out the motor and the tranny. I already removed the bolts from the transmission and also from the torque converter. I set up my chain. All I gotta do is grab my cherry picker, and this one's ready to come out. The motor's pretty much out. It's already loose. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this strap because it wants to turn that way. I wanna keep it straight because I'm not gonna remove the hood. So I'm just gonna put a strap from the chain to the cherry pickers just to keep it straight, and it's pretty much out. Here it is. I finally pulled it out. I'm gonna get it ready so I can throw it on the engine stand. I'm gonna be using this engine stand. But before I take the flex plate off, I'm gonna mark it, because sometimes they balance the internals with the flex plate on older motors, so I'm not gonna take any chances. The other thing I noticed is that this is a used flex plate, and it's not even from a 72, it's from a 69. It is the same thing, but I know it's not the original, and I know that at some point they either pull out the motor or they pulled out the tranny. So I'm gonna clean all of this right now. I'm gonna get it ready and I'm gonna throw it on the engine stand. And I wanted to show you guys something else. It was a good thing that I pulled out the motor because there's a puddle of oil on the transmission, and I know for a fact that the transmission is leaking fluid, so I'm gonna take care of the transmission as well. I didn't want to do all this work on the truck because I needed it, because I wanted to get it running as soon as possible, but the more wear and tear you see, the more you want to do to your cars. Since I'm gonna throw long tube headers, I'm gonna be working underneath, and as you guys can see, it's a mess. There's a lot of grease and oil and dirt, so I don't want to be underneath welding and I'm gonna get all dirty and greasy. I'd rather do my exhaust and have everything nice and clean underneath. That's the reason why I pulled out the motor. That's the reason why I'm gonna remove the tranny as well, because I'm gonna see if I can fix all the oil leaks and try to keep it as clean as possible. I'm gonna go ahead and get the motor ready, then I'm gonna start taking it apart. I finally got the motor out, so here it is. I'm just gonna remove the front cover, the oil pan, remove the rear main, clean everything up and put it back together, and that's gonna be it for the block. After that, I'm just gonna put the heads, the intake, and the rest of the stuff. I still gotta remove the transmission. Once I remove the transmission, I'm gonna clean the engine bay, and I think I'm gonna spray it. I'm not gonna go crazy on it. I'm just gonna make it look a little bit better. But that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.